Thanks everybody for joining. My name is Doug Whitaker. I'm president of Cloud Design Solutions. Today we're in this webinar, we're going to be looking at cloud communications and the essential elements and value of using cloud communications. I'm joined today with Hunter Edmonston. Hunter is a field sales engineer with Avant Communications. Avant is a strategic partner with Cloud Design. And he helps us with a lot of the technical aspects of what we're going to be talking about today. After we do the short presentation, Hunter is going to actually show us an example of a cloud application. In this case, I think we're going to see 8x8 today. Hunter, thanks for joining.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me, Doug.
All right, great. All right, so just to give everybody an idea of what we're going to go over today, first thing, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our company, Cloud Design Solutions. We'll hit the challenges that organizations are facing today and how cloud communications is going to add value and solve some of those challenges. The other thing that we're going to look at is companies that have used cloud communications, the benefits they've seen from it. We'll get an idea of how you can expect a business case, an ROI, a total cost of ownership, savings from using cloud communications. And then we'll just talk about why Cloud Design is a partner. Finally, Hunter's going to take over and he's going to do the demonstration of the cloud solution. Now, just to give you an idea about Cloud Design Solutions, we as a company, our mission is your success. We are an agent that acts as a communication advisor for you. We look to optimize your transition over to cloud communications. We're providing expert assistance and consulting. I myself have been in the industry over 30 years. I've been with companies like RingCentral, Aspect Software, and Avaya. And I've been in roles, example product roles and go-to-market roles that entire time. And so our goal is to help you identify your needs, identify the problems that need to be solved, and take a look at your initiatives and what's the right solution moving forward. Now, if we take a look at this slide, the person on the left is Mark Twain. He's the author of books like Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. And I like this quote from Mark Twain. Success is a journey, not a destination. It requires constant effort, vigilance, and reevaluation. And what that means, we're never one and done. We need to take a look at continuous improvement, iterative improvement, so that as we move forward, we can continuously add value and get more. And that's very true of communications. Legacy communication solutions are a challenge for many organizations out there. They're very complex, they're very expensive, and by the way, they're disconnected from the organization and other applications. It's what's referred to as a point solution, a siloed application. Requires a dedicated server or dedicated server farm that sits in a data center or maybe a back closet with a control unit. It's typically using physical phones. You're tethered to that location, and if you have multiple locations, you have to connect them with carrier services. It's very difficult to use. And like I mentioned, there's a high cost. You generally have a cost for the actual application to purchase, annual support costs, and probably a partner that you need to pay for those support costs. And by the way, you need to do annual upgrades and periodic updates for security and things like that. They're designed for obsolescence. And what that means in 5 or 10 years, you're going to need to replace it because they're going to stop supporting it and it's going to become something of a liability. The other part is that there is very limited or no integration to other applications internally. And so one of the values that you get from today's applications is being able to use them together, having an ecosystem. You don't necessarily get that from legacy communications. You have separate applications for phone, PBX applications, right? The video meetings, the messaging, collaboration, maybe even have a cell phone and things like that. And there's a ton of vendors that you have to deal with, including a carrier service. And by the way, if you want disaster recovery, multiple sites, you have to duplicate it. And sometimes you need to duplicate it several times. The other part about this, it is a potential security exposure. Now, companies do try to add new functionality over time, but because of the limited nature of legacy communications applications, it's very difficult to modernize. So they end up buying other point solutions, video meeting applications. Maybe they're buying cell phones for their employees, or maybe their employees are using personal cell phones. You're getting instant messaging, collaboration tools. Each one needs to be separately managed, separately purchased, separately administered from a security standpoint, and they are a compliance risk because you need to keep constantly up to date with them. It's something like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. You're always doing it again once you finish. They have very inconsistent integration with other applications internally. And by the way, that's usually custom. And so it's expensive even to get there. Let's not even talk about contact center. Contact center, I need an automatic call distributor or a predictive dialer, interactive voice response system, workforce management, recording, quality management, speech analytics, all applications with limited ability to talk to each other, all separately managed, reporting, analytics, everything else. Very difficult. And so when we take a look at what cloud communications provide, it's a single application that does everything. It's available everywhere because it's something that you're getting as a service and is accessible anywhere you have a data connection. All right. And it's very easy to use because all I need is that data connection, which generally is what's called over the top internet. When you talk about cloud communications, there's some different terms that are used when you're talking about this. Unified Communications as a Service, which is also called UCaaS, or Contact Center as a Service, which is called CCaaS. It's providing PBX or phone capabilities, video meeting, team collaboration, contact center, and other functions, digital channels, SMS/texting, maybe even fax capabilities. But the bottom line, it's anywhere communications. I can be using it in the office. I can be using it in the car. I can be using it at my home. I can be using it on the road, in a hotel, wherever. And it's one number that does everything: phone, text, fax, chat, etc. I can use any device I want. Example, I can have a physical phone. I can have a software right on my desktop, or maybe it's a mobile application. It's also secure and compliant. The providers are actually obligated to keep it secure, and they're going through all the compliance and testing that they need to do and keep you fulfilled from a compliance standpoint. The other part is that they're including functionality for artificial intelligence. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but there's a whole bunch of things that you can do leveraging AI that's just built into the application. It's doing simple things, right? But it's making it easier. Example, if you get a voicemail, that's delivered in as an email and it's already transcribed so I can look at it. You're going to learn in a minute about how some vendors even take that transcription and create a to-do list from it. Carrier services, you don't need to purchase them separately. It's one vendor, they're responsible for everything. And so the bottom line here is it's something that is used internally, makes your employees much more productive. And by the way, it's tied into your other applications internally. So it's tied into your CRM, it's tied into your desktop applications, even your productivity suites like Google or Microsoft Office 365, even an application like Microsoft Teams. No, I'm not going to go through all the functionality on this, but the idea here is that it's giving you everything, and it's just about you adopting it, leveraging it, using it. You don't need the multiple applications. You're not forced to use these capabilities, but as you use them, you'll find that it's much easier. You actually get a record of everything all in one. And then when you look at contact center, traditionally a very complex environment, now it's something about just deciding which capabilities I want to use, which capabilities I'm going to subscribe to. And it's not just voice anymore. It's digital channels like web, text, and I can use things like artificial intelligence to automate and help my employees go through their daily tasks or my customers complete self-service transactions. I talked about
Hey, Doug,
artificial intelligence. Yes, go ahead, Hunter.
I wanted to say something here. One of the things that I hear frequently, especially from coming from an on-prem setup, maybe you're the administrator, maybe you're the buyer, whatever that looks like for your company, it's super important to realize that ultimately what this offers you is consolidation with integration. So all the choke points, all the different things you have to manage from an asset point of view, all of those can be linked into this and then they can be integrated with all the other pieces, right? Making it a pretty seamless transition for like a single pane of glass.
Yeah. And by the way, you have one company that's responsible for doing that. That's the provider. And then you also, if you ever have any issues, it's one company that's responsible for
That's right.
addressing everything. You don't need to go and have any finger pointing. So that's another value to it. All right, so now let's take a look at artificial intelligence, and it's many different technologies make up artificial intelligence, but let's just think about some capabilities and some technologies involved. Number one is machine learning, always improving around what it's doing. So what you get today is going to be better tomorrow, and it does it automatically. Conversational AI, communicating with us in a natural language so that it's something that we can understand and use. Generative AI, actually creating content so that we can share with our customers, our employees, speech recognition and synthesis. So now I can speak to it. I can use it in a form that I'm used to, that I prefer, and by the way, across multiple languages. What these technologies have done is it's made it possible to have applications, use cases that are easily leveraged within an organization, from the smallest to the largest organizations. You're not spending hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to do this anymore. And so things like virtual assistants, that's an application we'll learn about in a second, but from virtual assistants, it's helping me go through my day. Automated transcription, when you're using a video meeting or a webinar like we're doing right now, it's actually listening to it and creating a transcript so that I can use that later on or catch up if I've missed part of it. Speech attendants, so now I can give my customers, my employees, an interface that's easy to use and very quick and natural. Intelligent virtual agents, that's IVA applications. It's automating things, providing self-service so that I can have a one and done experience. I can get the information I need very quickly, just tell it what I need and have it done. Chatbots gives me an interface so that now I can communicate digitally with the AI and have it automatically solve those problems. And if not, deliver it to a live agent. And if the live agent gets that, now the AI can help it through the process through something called Agent Assist. When the transaction is done, now I have sentiment analysis. Was it a satisfactory transaction? Oh, by the way, during the transaction, it can actually tell us, is this something that's going right, or maybe something's going wrong, and we can fix it. And finally, environmental optimization. Things like this webinar right now can take a look at the video, it can improve the video quality, or maybe even go through and eliminate things like background noise. All right, it's doing that automatically. It's things that are included as part of these applications, right? But you don't even know what's happening, but it's just making it better. Now let's talk about Zoom and how Zoom is leveraging AI through their applications. They've introduced something called AI Companion. It's part of their suite. It's their productivity suite. And so when you're using it, it's making it a whole lot easier for your employees to do their job. If they're in a meeting, it's summarizing the meeting. It's creating a to-do list. It's literally, when I get in the morning, it's taking a look at all the media that I have, email, calendar, chat, notes, docs. It's creating that to-do list for the day, helping me through that to-do list. And this, by the way, is included at no additional cost to you. The next thing is that it's helping to drive productivity by helping me prepare. If I'm going to be in a meeting, it tells me what the meeting is about. It gives me information that I need to leverage before I go into the meeting. If I join late, maybe it's giving me a summary of what's happened, or I can ask it questions and it'll tell me things that I need to know about what's happened in that meeting. If the meeting is over, it's going to give me a summary of that meeting. It's going to summary and across all different channels, whether it's those meetings, the chats, the email threads, the documents, etc. It makes it very easy for me as an employee, as a worker, to do my job. And by the way, if I go out on vacation, I return, it's going to give me a synopsis very quickly about everything that's happened while I was gone. What about things that are out there today, like Microsoft Teams? We talk about your existing ecosystem, and Teams isn't a good example because it's been included in Office 365, not necessarily moving forward, but many organizations are already using it for collaboration and messaging. And so what can I do to add and expand the capabilities of Microsoft Teams? Well, maybe I want to add some phone capabilities to it, and Microsoft offers something called Teams Phone that's going to give me calling plans, gives me a number, even gives me a mobile application so that I'm accessible anytime, anywhere. But there's limitations to it. And so maybe I want to do some other things, leverage some other providers. We mentioned Zoom. Maybe I'm using 8x8. Maybe I'm using a company like Ring Central or Dialpad. Well, they have applications that can live in Teams. And so now I can provide voice, but maybe other capabilities like SMS and fax, and I can use those with Teams in the Teams interface. Now, many companies, many people want to leverage Teams with its native capabilities. And so how do I live in Teams? And Microsoft has introduced capabilities like direct routing and Operator Connect. Direct routing lets you use a provider They're providing the functionality like the number, the phone. It's providing the SMS and the fax capabilities, and it's doing that in a highly reliable manner that gives me a very high SLA and a voice quality score. And if I'm using Microsoft Teams, I want to use the Teams functionality, but I want to use a different carrier. Maybe I'm going to use something like Operator Connect, and that gives me a whole bunch of carriers and providers that I can leverage. There's a whole bunch of different options for using Microsoft Teams, but once again, what's right for you? Well, let's go through, understand the needs, understand the requirements, understand the problems that need to be solved in your future initiatives, and let's determine the right application for you. Now let's take a look at some use cases, some organizations that have actually used cloud communications. The first one we're going to look at is First Bank. First Bank is an organization that was pretty complex. They had over 100 locations with over 1,000 employees, and by the way, a dozen different contact centers. So across those hundreds of locations, they were very small in that they had a few employees here, there, and everywhere, and it was very difficult, expensive, because they needed a whole bunch of different phone systems to be able to do that. Well, they did a 6-month evaluation. Their criteria, they needed a single platform, anytime, anywhere, everywhere. And they wanted to be able to use different devices. They wanted to use physical phones, they wanted to use a desktop phone, and they also wanted to use mobile applications. They also wanted to be able to collaborate. They wanted something that gave them unified messaging and collaboration to help their employees share information and do work together. And so then finally, they wanted to look at contact center and with communications and workforce engagement, workforce management, recording, quality management, and speech analytics. In their case, they chose RingCentral. Now, compared to what they were doing before, they had huge savings. So they got something a whole lot better, and they were able to save 30% compared to what they were doing before. Here's a quote from their CIO. The RingCentral rollout is already saving us 30% on our overall phone system costs. That's great. All right, I get something better and I'm saving money. That's going to be consistent. Here's another organization, Empire Merchants. They took a look at their current situation, which was a Cisco environment. It was expensive. It was limited, voice only. They had to do all these things that we talked about, those annual upgrades, security audits, and everything else associated with it. And they wanted to do something else. Let's make it easier internally. They wanted voice and a contact center. They wanted integration with Microsoft Teams. In other words, they wanted to live in the Teams environment, something that 8x8 excels at. And they wanted something that gave unified communications and contact center that was one application. They wanted one environment to live in. And so in their case, they did choose 8x8. It was a great solution for them. Here's a quote from their CIO. We've met some big objectives with 8x8. We reduced our cost. Our team can now maintain the system easily in-house. And our workforce has found 8x8 to be simple and easy to use. And I'm sure part of that is that they're already using Microsoft Teams. This just made Teams even better. What about the business case? We talked about the savings that both those organizations realized. Something like the First Bank, right? How did they save 30%? Well, they had a whole bunch of vendors. They had a whole bunch of different solutions. They had a whole bunch of maintenance contracts, a whole bunch of hardware and everything else associated with it. So when you look at cloud, it's giving you all the services under one vendor. It's eliminating all those annual upgrades, the support costs associated with doing those, and the outages, by the way. Cloud is more reliable, and there's a service level agreement associated with that that's financially backed. Also, security audits, which is something very important that everybody needs to think about these days. They also found because they have one application that needs to manage, they're going to be able to save on labor. They can reallocate the labor that's spent on application management, configuration, administration, and upgrades, and they can do other things that's better apt for them. There's no equipment depreciation. They don't need to replace the equipment every few years for infrastructure refresh. It's one of the frustrating things about premise applications is that when they come out with new release, they have new hardware requirements, and your existing infrastructure probably doesn't even meet those requirements. In terms of bandwidth, because I'm using over-the-top internet, it's going to be lower bandwidth requirements. I don't need to go out and get dedicated bandwidth, example, to connect all my different locations. From a data center perspective, I don't need it. All right, therefore, I'm going to save the money around energy, cooling, real estate, leasing, insurance, management of that, et cetera. And so overall, you get complete savings across the board. You're going to get higher adoption, better productivity, and once again, more reliable than what you're probably experiencing today. Now, why Cloud Design is a partner? Well, let's take a look at that. First of all, we have a great expertise that we're able to deliver, and we have experience with both contact center and unified communications. We have partners with the leaders in the industry, organizations like 8x8, RingCentral, Zoom, et cetera. We can provide different options for leveraging voice within Microsoft Teams, making Teams even better. And then we have this process that we deliver. We call this the Cloud Design Assessment process, and we go through, we meet with your executives, with your managers, your supervisors, your end users. We understand the workflow process. We understand the pain points today. We understand what you're trying to do. And then from there, we identify which providers are going to be the best fit for this. Take a look, help you through that evaluation of those providers, and then let's go through the procurement process to get you the best price right away. We are your advisor through this. Our objective is to delight our customers, period. The cloud communications, it just makes sense. I've already stressed it's going to be something that's probably going to save you money, but it's also going to increase your productivity. It's going to be so much easier for your employees. They're going to love it. And then it's going to be more reliable. It's going to be more secure. And you're going to be able to do things like whether it's PCI or HIPAA compliance, it's going to be built in, and that provider is responsible for those certifications. Now we're going to take a look at an actual application. Hunter's going to show us 8x8. So we're looking at 8x8, and I see you have the darker environment set here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the darker environment is to mimic what I have. This happens to be on a Mac. So it takes the theme of whatever that might be. Same way with a Windows machine. If you choose to have a lighter dark environment, it'll pull that theme as well over. I briefly just want to show a couple of the features here. And the one thing I do want to point out, I'd be remiss to not do it, is that everything Doug has mentioned around a UC client, right, around type of communications that lives in a cloud, all these providers have the ability to have exactly what you're seeing here on my desktop. They have that in an app format as well, right? And that gives you the ability to move around. It's an environment for people that are working from the road, for people that need to step away from their desk for a few minutes to go handle something personal, whatever that might be. Especially as we're in the work from anywhere phase in the last few years, this is a great environment for you to be able to use it both on your desktop and simultaneously on your mobile device. So what you're seeing here today is a mirror image essentially of the 8x8 Work app that is also available through whatever app store you consume today. So I'll briefly just go through this. And what I want to highlight for you is the idea that everything you're seeing here would be a system that would have to tie into another system that would have to tie into another system you would manage today with an on-prem environment. What you're going to see is tight integrations, syncing between both calendars, directories, tenants, et cetera, all within one platform. So as you can see here, if we were looking for a call function, it's pretty similar to how you would dial from a desk phone or a premise-based desk phone today, right? You've got a true soft phone client. It has the ability to make all the inputs that you would absolutely need. The 8x8 one specifically has a really cool feature. Once this is installed on your machine, you have the ability to go in and highlight a number. So say you're out calling a customer, or you're looking to call maybe a partner of yours, or make an inquiry, and you find their phone number on a web page or online, or maybe it's in an email. You have the ability to highlight that number. And then on a Mac, you simply hit Control, Command, and the number 8 fitting for 8x8. And that actually goes ahead and does a click to call. So that's a super cool feature that happens to be around the UC part, being able to take all the different pieces of your machine that you're using and then click to dial, so you don't have to come in here and actually enable that. If you're looking for that and you happen to be watching this and you're like, man, I have 8x8 Work today and I didn't know I could do that, feel free to click up top right here, and it's going to show you some faster ways to make calls, including the click to call. In here, you can see that I've got calls altogether filtered out. I've got missed calls, and then I've got voicemails availability too. If I click into a voicemail and I had a voicemail, it would obviously give me that voicemail here, and then give me all the pertinent data around summary or transcription over here on the right-hand side. Down here in contacts, you can see here if you have a company linked, anybody inside of that tenant, if you will, or anybody inside of that platform, you can go in here and select and then make a quick call from there. You also have the ability to set your own contacts. So if I wanted to put Doug in here as a contact, I could go in here and add that, or I could turn around and add it from a third party contact. So somewhere that there's a file, oftentimes it's import from a CSV, import from any type of calendar function like an iCal, et cetera. That can be done in here as well. Now, one of the cool things I think inside of this platform is today, there are many of us like myself that enjoy using telephones to make phone calls, but there are also just as many people, if not more, that would rather just get a text, right? And so you have the ability to come in here with a lot of these platforms and use the same DID or the same number that you have assigned to you within your company. And you can make a lot of these SMS text messages here. You can see that I've sent one to Doug recently just saying, hey, just checking to see how the presentation's going. And you can see his response here. I can turn around and I can copy that text and I can put it into another place. So if he had sent me some pertinent piece of information that I needed to add into an email or a calendar invite or something of that nature, it's all available in here. That's a pretty cool feature, I think, is being able to have your texting from your work phone number and calling in one place. If I click over here on the meetings, you should be able to see me here. This is going to give me a preview of both my video and audio and any images that I want to bring in here. It tells me the status, and so everything's working properly. The camera that I happen to be using connected to the machine is ready to go. If we were on a device and we were looking to start a meeting, you would see the same thing, but on your device interface. And if you had headphones synced up via Bluetooth or something of that nature, you would have that same ability here. Now, one of the cool things about UC that we don't talk about a ton because we kind of take it for granted at this point, especially in the last 5 or so years. But one of the spots that's really neat inside of this app to me is one, I can sync my calendar. So if I get any 8x8 meetings or any other type of meetings that I want to either join using the 8x8 client, I can sync that in here by clicking on Sync Calendar. And it's going to offer me a whole bunch of options for tight integrations with things I use today. But also it has the ability to have a personal meeting space. So we talk about this in our industry as like an ad hoc meeting space or something of that nature. What's really cool is no longer do you have to FaceTime your work buddy, or do you have to set a call and then spin up a meeting or hope that he might have a platform that you're able to do that. Because with UC, and having the ability to have a collaboration or a meeting space, you no longer need the bulky Polycom units or the Crestron systems or whatever that might look like. You can just simply spin it up from your machine and use the built-in hardware to start a meeting or schedule a meeting and send that out. Inside of here, if I chose to make any call recordings at all, so say I wanted to record a conversation between Doug and I because we plan to use it for an audio blip later on down the line, those call recordings would be in here. Just to kind of give you a basic of what these features do at the bottom really quick, you have settings to be able to manipulate your input and output devices, which is super neat. You're no longer locked into the default speakers or the default laptop microphone or whatever that might look like. And then you also have all your information as far as presence. That's something we don't talk about a ton. But from the premise standpoint, it would be the equivalent of having busy lights almost, right? So you've got the ability with presence now to show, hey, I am available. Hey, I'm not. If I was in this meeting, I would click do not disturb, right? And that's going to route any incoming calls or any distractions or anything like that. It's going to route those straight to a voicemail. So you've got a lot of really cool features in here inside of this UC client. We just want to show you a snapshot today of one of them. But the many that Doug has mentioned are available. They all have a lot of the similar features. A lot of them even incorporate AI or summaries or almost like companions inside of here, depending upon the manufacturer and what they call it or the supplier. So we just want to show you that and give you a brief overview of what that looked like. And I hope you enjoyed it.
All right, thank you, Hunter. One point that I'll make regarding especially the mobile applications, how do you do that today? A lot of organizations, maybe they forward the employee phone over to a personal cell phone. That's not what's happening here. It's using a dedicated app that has dedicated quality of service within it. And what it means is that your employees aren't using their personal phones, I should say their personal numbers anymore. So let's say you have an employee leave the organization. Well, it's staying within your organization, the future communications with that customer. So that's a key point around an
Absolutely.
application like that. All right. I want to thank everybody. I hope you found today's discussion valuable. We're going to be doing a similar discussion next month around contact center. But when we take a look at what you're doing, think about how unified communications, cloud communications can help you. We'd be glad to discuss it with you. It's something that we would enjoy and look forward to. Just go ahead and contact us, and please check out our website, which is clouddesignusa.com. You can see the QR code right on this screen. Feel free to scan that and it'll bring you right to our Cloud Design website.